My name is Bob Campana. I live in Bay Village, Ohio. I was born in Weirton, West Virginia, grew up in Lorain, Ohio. Weirton and Lorain are both very industrial towns. My father was in the construction business, and our family moved 18 times, different steel towns around the country. And I have a brother born in Detroit, brother born in Philadelphia, two of us in Weirton, and we ended up in Lorain. And my dad was actually an immigrant from Italy and came over here as a little boy, and was very mechanically inclined. Went into the construction industry, and worked his way up in the construction industry, where he actually became like a superintendent of operations for a big firm, but required a lot of moving. Ultimately, he started moving and decided to go back to Lorain and start his own construction company. And it focused mostly on steel mills and auto manufacturing plants. Well, because of his steel mill expertise, he became a candidate and then ultimately secured a license from Europe to become the North American licensee for a cast iron welding and burning technology. So as a little boy, I'm 10 years old, and my dad starts his company, and I absolutely fell in love with what he was doing. So being around the house and hearing him talk, you know, I always kind of give the analogy that I was that little boy that was standing right by that dinner table just watching and listening and just hoping that someday I could be a part of that. So the company went from a construction company to an actual service company where we were in every steel mill in North America, repairing ingot molds and slag pots. Those are cast iron components that carry hot metal. So our company grew rapidly, and my dad started actually at the age of 48 or 49, ultimately passed away unexpectedly at the age of 73. And when I came out of college, I went to work for my dad. I worked through all the shops in the summers, but ultimately came into the business, and after 2 years he asked me to get involved in the financial side. And from the time I was 24 till the time I was 33, 34, I was involved as a CFO. And we had expanded tremendously to well over 1,000 people, manufacturing operations in Texas, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, service operations throughout all the steel mill towns in North America. I was 34 years old, and I took over as CEO, and continued in that capacity until I was probably 42, 43 years old. I would like to talk to you a little bit about some financial engineering that I did when I was the CEO. I understood the importance of estate planning. I understood the importance of just financial planning. I did estate planning for my dad, and he was old school. But then I also did estate and financial planning for myself. So at the age of 24, I got married and decided it was very important to meet my obligations as a father. At age 27, I had my first child, my son, and then subsequently 2 other children. Bought more insurance as I had more obligation moving forward. Well, I did the same thing in our family business, where after my dad passed away, there's the sibling ownership, and I engineered the balance sheet to have policies as our buy-sell mechanism. We actually, over the years, have overfunded our policies on an annualized basis because of the return that we were getting from those cash values. So, from a fundamental standpoint, we're extremely conservative from a balance sheet standpoint. We're risk takers as business people, but from a balance sheet standpoint, our family business has no long-term debt. We do have a line of credit for operating capital, but we also have these cash value life insurance policies. So 2008 hits, and I'm not working in the business. I'm still an owner of the business, and we go into war strategy as a family, my brother Dave and I, and our COO, on what's going to happen here. Sales have fallen off 70% in the steel industry, not 30%, 70% drop in sales. We had an 18-week supply chain arrangement with our suppliers from Asia and other parts of the world. Well, you can imagine 70% drop in sales, and you've got an 18-week supply chain in process. Now, we're able to stop it, but we weren't able to stop what was in process. So here our warehouses are filling up with inventory. We were in war mode. We weren't sure if and when the market would ever come back. We've never experienced anything like 70% reduction in sales. So we didn't know what to expect. We had great comfort in the fact that we knew that we had, over $5 million of cash available at our fingertips. We didn't know how long this thing was going to go on, so of course we were still concerned. But obviously we had great relief knowing that we weren't at the beck and call or the whim of the bank. So regardless of the bank dancing with us or not, and they did ultimately cooperate with us willingly once they understood what role that cash value played. But if they wouldn't have, we knew that we had access to it, and they weren't gonna knock us out. We're big risk takers, but we don't take risks in the fundamentals. And the fundamentals, are things like cash value life insurance, retirement, things like that. We took it very seriously, not only from protecting our interest in our company. We've got a lot of employees that we have to protect. So, it's a fundamental operation, a financial strategy that we employed.